The Art of Storytelling. Ini adalah bagian dari inisiatif
Recording in
lomba
progress.
kreatif. Oke, selamat pagi semua. Terima kasih untuk kehadirannya pada hari Sabtu pagi yang ceria ini. Kita akan mulai dengan workshop yang pertama, yaitu The Art of Storytelling. Ini adalah bagian dari rencana lomba kreatif tech short video hackathon yang akan dilakukan dalam serangkaian acara atau aktivitas, dan lombanya sendiri akan dilakukan pada tanggal 12 hingga 20 Juni 2026. Oke, kita akan tanpa berlama-lama, kita akan segera mulai. Next, kita akan mulai dengan tata tertib. Mohon untuk semua dapat melakukan setting mikrofon dalam keadaan mute karena acara ini direkam dan acara ini akan dilakukan dalam bahasa Inggris dan kami akan mempublish rekaman ini dalam bentuk YouTube dan akan diberikan teks dalam bahasa Indonesia. Yang kedua, untuk tanya jawab. Kalau Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan, silahkan dilakukan pada saat Q&A atau siapkan dulu pertanyaannya sehingga nanti bisa ditanyakan pada saat tanya jawab pada saat terakhir. Atau untuk peserta yang ingin berbicara langsung, boleh melakukannya dengan melakukan fitur raise hand, angkat tangan. Kami juga akan mengedarkan daftar hadir yang akan diberikan pada saat sebelum acara berakhir. Demikian tata tertib, mohon dapat disimak dan diperhatikan. Oke, sebelum kita mulai acara ini, kita akan mulai dengan doa pembukaan yang akan dipimpin oleh Pak Wahidin Wardiman sebagai Wakil Sekretaris Umum MPK Indonesia. Silakan Pak Wahidin.
Terima kasih Bu Inge. Bapak Ibu sekalian, mari kita mulai acara hari ini di dalam doa. Mari kita berdoa. Bapa kami di dalam surga, kami datang kepadamu dengan hati yang penuh syukur. Terima kasih Tuhan untuk kesehatan, kehidupan, dan kesempatan berharga kami hidup di dunia yang sangat high-tech hari ini. Kami ucap syukur untuk terselenggaranya Lomba Kreatif Tech Hackathon 2026 ini, sebuah inisiatif yang Kau izinkan terjadi melalui kolaborasi antara Edefi Singapura dan MPK Indonesia. Tuhan, kami bersyukur untuk visi Edefi yang rindu membangun cerita-cerita yang baik, cerita yang menguatkan, memulihkan, dan menginspirasi. Kami diingatkan bagaimana Tuhan Yesus sendiri memberitakan kabar baik melalui perumpamaan dan cerita yang sederhana namun penuh kuasa, yang menyentuh hati dan mengubahkan kehidupannya. Kami percaya Tuhan, hackathon ini bukan sekedar lomba, tetapi bagian dari rencanamu untuk membangkitkan generasi storyteller yang membawa terang dan harapan bagi dunia. Kami akan mulai lomba hackathon ini dengan 2 pembekalan peserta, dengan 2 workshop. Workshop hari ini, The Art of Storytelling, dan workshop kedua tanggal 4 April, Creating with AI. Khususnya Tuhan berkati narasumber hari ini, Bapak Anthony Chan dan Bapak Gin Kai, agar melalui mereka kami seluruh siswa dan guru yang hadir pagi ini bisa belajar bertumbuh dan mengembangkan talenta yang Kau berikan. Ajar kami Tuhan tidak hanya menjadi content creator, tetapi menjadi penyampai kebenaran-Mu melalui setiap ide, setiap visual, dan setiap cerita yang kami buat. Buka pikiran kami, tajamkan kreativitas kami, dan lembutkan hati kami agar setiap karya yang lahir dari proses ini boleh menjadi berkat bagi banyak orang. Terima kasih Tuhan, kami percaya Engkau hadir dan memimpin lomba Creative Hackathon dari hari ini sampai kepada tanggal 20 Juni. Di dalam nama Tuhan Yesus Kristus kami berdoa dan mengucap syukur. Amin.
Terima kasih Pak Wahidin untuk doa pembukaan yang sangat komprehensif. Bapak Ibu sekalian, sebelum kita mulai workshop, akan saya sampaikan tentang introduksi tentang program atau lomba ini, sehingga kita semua mendapatkan pengertian yang menyeluruh tentang apa yang akan kita lakukan. Jadi pada lomba ini, lomba ini benar-benar dilakukan dengan kerjasama seperti yang sudah dikatakan oleh Pak Wahidin, dengan Edefi dari Singapura, dan pada tahun ini kita mempunyai 4 lomba siswa, dan ini adalah salah satunya yang pertama. Nah, siswa atau tim dari siswa dan guru ditantang untuk membuat video pendek 2 sampai 5 menit yang kita ingin menghadirkan cerita-cerita positif, cerita yang menggugah, sehingga dunia ini yang sekarang ini penuh dengan hal-hal yang negatif atau cerita-cerita yang negatif, cerita-cerita yang seram ini dapat berubah, begitu ya. Dan kami mengharapkan bahwa cerita-cerita ini juga bisa menginspirasi masyarakat ataupun siswa-siswa dan lingkungan lainnya. Jadi motonya adalah edifying our world one story at a time. Kita ingin mengubah dunia ini dengan satu cerita pada satu saat. Nah, lomba ini sendiri akan dilakukan pada tanggal 12 sampai 20 Juni, yaitu 5 hari. Dan tema yang disuguhkan adalah tentang kebangkitan kembali, rekonsiliasi, penebusan, ketangguhan, pembaharuan, pencerahan, dan restorasi. Edefi sendiri mempunyai latar belakang Kristen, tapi kami dalam lomba ini tidak mencantumkan di sini adalah sesuatu yang berhubungan dengan keagamaan. Karena ini hasil daripada video atau cerita-cerita ini akan disuguhkan kepada publik. Dan biasanya publik kalau sudah menyangkut suatu agama tertentu akan menjadi alergi dan tidak meneruskan. Jadi kita ingin bagaimana menyampaikan hal-hal kebenaran, hal-hal yang positif, cerita yang menggugah, tanpa harus melekatkan agama tertentu di situ. Ini menjadi catatan yang sangat penting. Jadi melalui hal-hal yang sehari-hari, bagaimana tetap nilai-nilai itu bisa tersampaikan. Nah, formatnya bisa dibuat melalui AI atau artificial intelligence, atau bisa dibuat dengan real, live action, atau animasi, ataupun berupa dokumenter. Nah, award akan diberikan karena lomba ini terbuka juga untuk publik, bukan hanya di Indonesia, tetapi juga di Singapura, di Filipina, dan Korea Selatan. Nah, untuk MPK khususnya kita akan memperlombakan di antara peserta MPK sendiri, sehingga ada award tertentu, award yang diberikan untuk komunitas MPK. Komunitas MPK ini tentu juga dilibatkan atau diikut sertakan siapa tahu yang bisa juga memenangkan award di dalam klasifikasi publik. Nah, untuk mempersiapkan ini kami sudah mempersiapkan 2 workshop, yaitu yang pertama workshop tentang art storytelling hari ini, dan yang kedua adalah workshop tentang creating with AI. Nah, kami berharap semua peserta bisa mengikuti workshop ini, dan kami akan melihat ketika art of storytelling ini akan coba bisa dilanjutkan, kami akan coba lanjutkan kembali karena hari ini adalah basic art of storytelling. Kami masih merencanakan apakah April 11 kami akan lakukan advance art storytelling, gitu ya. Nah, ada tanggal di situ pada bulan Mei 1 hingga pendaftaran dulu, yaitu tanggal April tanggal 1, pendaftaran dibuka dengan link yang ada di bawah. Nah, setelah pendaftaran melalui website yang disediakan, peserta bisa mulai memasukkan konsep cerita antara Mei tanggal 1 hingga 30. Pada saat itu, peserta belum membuat video. Video hanya benar-benar dibuat pada saat Juni 12 sampai 20, supaya fair terhadap setiap orang. Pada 5 hari itu, dibuatlah video dan harap dimasukkan pada tanggal 20 jam 4 sore, ya, 16.00 adalah batas akhir. Kemudian juri akan melakukan penilaian 1 minggu dan akan diumumkan. Pengumuman pemenang akan dilakukan juga secara online. Ya, jadi perlombaan kali ini tidak ada pertemuan onsite, semuanya dilakukan secara online. Harap diperhatikan pesertanya bisa individual, yaitu mulai murid-murid, siswa-siswa tidak terbatas jenjangnya, dan atau dalam satu tim, yaitu maksimum 4 orang dan perlu 1 orang guru. Jadi 1 orang guru pendamping dan 3 siswa. Ya. demikian kami bersyukur bahwa melalui hackathon ini kami bisa mendapatkan menyerap sesuatu yang terjadi di luar sana dan kami bisa menghadirkan para pakar hari ini seperti storytelling dan kemudian juga kami bisa menghadirkan tanggal 4 pakar di dalam Creating with AI. Bapak Ibu bisa lihat pada brosur sebelah kiri yang kami sudah sebarkan juga adalah key dates atau tanggal-tanggal penting yang perlu diperhatikan untuk acara ini. Tanggal 28 dan tanggal 4 workshop, tanggal 1 pembukaan hingga tanggal 12 registrasi dibuka, 12 dan 20 adalah acara hackathonnya sendiri. Demikian presentasi tentang introduksi. Kalau Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan, mohon bisa dicatat nanti di post pada saat Q&A. Oke, berikut saya akan introduce narasumber. Yang pertama adalah Chan Gin Kai. Kami sangat beruntung bisa berkenalan dengan seorang produser film, pemenang dari Golden Horse Award. Beliau telah memproduksi film lebih dari 20 negara. Dan sangat beruntung juga bahwa beliau dengan iman Kristen yang kuat, membuat inisiatif dan membuat organisasi yang namanya Edefi untuk bisa mengumpulkan atau grooming, menumbuhkan, mendevelop para creative teller, storyteller untuk bisa membuat hal-hal yang positif. Nah, hasil yang dihasilkan di sini nanti akan dipampang juga di Artworker adalah suatu website yang regional website sehingga hasil daripada siswa-siswa bisa di-showcase-kan kepada publik di luar. Biasanya sangat sulit kalau kita menghasilkan sesuatu bisa mendapat forum internasional. Nah, ini kesempatan yang sangat baik karena semua hasil yang dihasilkan akan bisa di-show off, di-showcase-kan di dalam website yang sifatnya internasional. Narasumber yang kedua adalah David Anthony Chan. Beliau adalah pemenang daripada Literary Titan Golden Book Award dengan 9 novel populer. Wah, kita sangat beruntung sekali bisa mendapatkan para pakar dalam bidang storytelling yang akan mengajarkan kita bagaimana storytelling ini. Bapak Ibu sekalian, sebelum kita mulai, saya ingin memberi satu catatan. Skill, keahlian di dalam storytelling ini sangat penting. Bukan saja penting untuk para produser, tapi penting mulai dari siswa. Ketika siswa mempunyai ide, bagaimana dia bisa menjabarkannya dengan baik, bagaimana dia bisa membuat guru dan siswa-siswa lainnya bisa menerima ide yang dijabarkan itu. Demikian juga ketika dia lulus dan bekerja. Saya sebagai pekerja profesional sangat merasakan itu. Bukan hanya level eksekutif, tapi mulai dari level jenjang dasar ketika kita bekerja, kita itu selalu selling, quote unquote ya, selling, menjual. Menjual apa? Menjual ide. Kita punya ide, kita punya usul, kita punya apa, tapi bagaimana menyampaikannya dengan baik. Karena ide yang baik, kalau disampaikan dengan tidak baik, maka tidak akan diterima. Apalagi kalau yang bersangkutan nanti dalam dunia profesi sudah mencapai eksekutif, storytelling itu suatu skill yang diajarkan kepada para eksekutif saat ini. Dan itu sangat berguna karena pada saat itulah dia bisa memasarkan produknya atau dia bisa memasarkan mencari investor dan sebagainya. Jadi skill storytelling ini akan dibawa terus. Jadi seseorang siswa yang sudah kita bekali saat ini akan sangat beruntung dan akan sangat mempengaruhi karir yang bersangkutan. Demikian juga dengan membuat video atau kreatif, sehingga banyak kesempatan job opening, tidak perlu bekerja di perusahaan, tapi juga sebagai freelance, kalau Anda bisa membuat video ya yang kreatif seperti itu. Oke, tanpa berlama-lama, saya akan panggilkan segera Kinkai untuk memulai sesi ini, dan sesi ini akan dimulai dengan bahasa Inggris. Kinkai, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Inge, for introducing me. I didn't understand what you're saying, but I hope you said something good. Yeah, I'm Jinkai from Singapore. I apologize that my Bahasa, I only understand maybe 10%, but I'm very, very happy to see all of you today. So let me share my screen and then we can go right into the art of storytelling. Now, some background. I am a film producer and I've been producing film for the last 28 years. So as a film producer, this is a motto that I live by. The words in blue here. If a picture paints 1,000 words, a film projects 1,000,000. What do you want to tell the world? Right? We have all heard of this quote, a picture paints 1,000 words, a picture paints 1,000 words, right? But for me, then I think, okay, if a picture can already convey so much meaning, then a film can convey even more. So as a film producer, I decided that I want to be very careful about the kind of films that I produce. Because as storytellers, people listen to us. So there's this quote, right? With much power comes much responsibility. And since as storytellers, with this power, we want to make films and make the world a little bit better. Right. So I see my role as a modern day parable teller. Uh, it, we know Jesus, right? Jesus, he preached from the Bible or from the scriptures to the synagogues, right? But Jesus also told stories to the mass audience, right? And through the stories, right, although it doesn't talk directly about the rules, the practices, or well, a lot of information, but through the stories, he was able to convey meanings that he wants to bring to people, right? So as a filmmaker, right, I respect the role of the preachers in church, right, who preach to us, and I do that sometimes in my church as well. But in my everyday work, I see myself as a modern day parable teller, like Jesus. I want to tell stories that appeal to audiences that people can relate to, and as they are learning, they are being entertained. Now, so storytelling is very important, right? From the little bit of Bahasa that I understood, Ibu Inge already elaborated on that. Not only is it about entertaining people, it helps you in your work, right? It engages audience, it enhances your ability to teach, it empowers your leadership. You can emotionally connect better with people through stories. And also because stories are easier for people to remember, right, than facts and figures. So it embeds into your memory, or into people's memory when you tell stories. Okay, so there is power in storytelling, and I think all of us can learn to become storytellers. But whenever I do workshops or talk to people about storytelling, making films and all that, people always ask me about IP, intellectual property. What is that? How can I protect myself? Now that I'm creating, I need to be careful about this. Okay, today is not an IP workshop, right? That itself can be a very long workshop. But I think we can just give you a little crash course on IP, right? So IP is divided into four main pillars here. Okay, there's two other sub pillars. We shall not go into the details. But one is copyright. Okay, any film that you make, any script, music, artwork, basically original creative works, that falls under copyright. Okay, so if you write a script, you're making movies like me, you write a poem, right? All these fall under copyright. Then there's trademark. Okay, trademark is for like logo, the Coca-Cola logo. You always see there's a small little sign there, a small circle with a TM there, right? Or R there. That is a trademark, right? So trademark is for logos, for symbols, right? And then there's patent. A patent is for a technology invention. Okay. So if you're in engineering, if you're a scientist, if you're in biotech, or all of those, what you create falls under patent. And then there's also trade secret, right? Like the formula for Coca-Cola, right? Formula for Coca-Cola is not patented, it's not trademark, okay, it's not copyright, but it's a confidential business information that only 2 or 3 people in Coca-Cola, the top level people knows. Other than that, no one knows, right? So it's a trade secret, right? So these are 4 different ways that intellectual properties are classified under, right? And so in the context of what we are doing, right, it's mostly about creative works, is under copyright. And what a lot of people don't know about copyright is actually once you create it, you own it. Once I write a poem, that means it's considered my copyright, regardless of whether I register it or not. I don't register it, the fact I created it is already, it's mine, right? That's the thing about copyright. However, how do you prove that you are the one who created it? That is the question. How do you prove when you created it? How do you prove that it is original? Okay, so without registration, it already belongs to you. But then how do you prove all of this, right? That's where registration is helpful, right? Registration is not, it's not at the point of registration that you're owner. You're owner the moment you created it. Registration just helps you to prove these 3 points. But these 3 points are not just proven by registration, right? Okay, actually, registration, there are many ways to do it. Okay, even if in the old days, before internet was around, when I was still a young writer, what we did was we write a script, we put it in an envelope, we seal it, we mail it to ourselves. And then the post office put a chop on it, right? The stamp. Put a chop on it. Then it's proof. The post office chop certifies that on this date, it was posted to myself. So that's proof of when I created it and the fact that I created it, right? So there are many different ways to prove it, right? But of course, nowadays, there's proper registrations or that help to prove these things, okay? But the only thing about copyright is this: there is no real original story. Okay, for those of us who are older, we know many years ago there was a movie called Pretty Woman, right? And then some years ago, a few years ago, there's a story called Crazy Rich Asian. And I was talking to my friends, I said, oh, Pretty Woman and Crazy Rich Asians are actually the same story. They say, oh, no lah, they are not the same story. I said, it's the same story. Pretty Woman is about a prostitute who met a rich man, and that changed her life, and that changed his life. That's a Cinderella story. Crazy Rich Asian is the same thing, right? A girl from an ordinary family met a rich family, they end up changing each other's life. That's Cinderella story, right? That story existed thousands of years ago, right? So then what is original? How do you prove it's original? Right? Both are Cinderella stories. It's the context that makes it different, right? Pretty Woman is about a prostitute, right? Crazy Rich Asian is about a Asian family in a Western world, right? So it's a different context, right? So while there's no real original story, the context that we put it in, as long as it's different enough, right, then it's regarded as original. So you may find that there are other people creating some similar stories as you, right? So it's how different your context is. So that's why even in registration for some places, right, if I write a 1-page story, it's hard to prove it's mine because 1 page doesn't give enough context, right? Compared to if I write a 20-page story, I give a lot more context. Then it's easier for me to prove that, okay, it's different from everyone else, okay? So the more details there is, the better your characters are developed, the more your character arc, your story arc is shown, the more you describe the context of the story, the more original it becomes. Okay, a one page with another one page Cinderella story, it looks almost the same, right? So that's the part of originality. And then there's value in ownership, especially nowadays, right? People are seeing value in IP ownership. Also nowadays, there's IP protection. A good IP can become a movie, can become a book, can become a game, can become merchandise, can be on the paper cups of McDonald's or KFC, right? It can go into many different forms, right? And good IPs, right, can create a lot of recurring income for the IP creator. So that's something to think about. Okay, so this is not a deep course on IP. That's all I shall talk about regarding IP. Okay, let's go into storytelling. Now, I shall talk about short videos, right? Normally I produce movies, but nowadays a lot of people likes watching very, very short videos, right? I also end up watching a lot of it. And what we find with short videos is there's so little time to capture audience attention, right? 2 to 3 minutes, how do you capture audience attention? So what a lot of people do is they sensationalize things. A lot of times with fake news, right? Or they overhype things, they over-exaggerate things to try to get attention. Or sometimes we also see there are people who try to sexualize themselves, right? Or put sexy things to try to capture people's attention. But there's a problem with this, right? The problem is, one, many people do that to capture audience, but they end up having to create more and more hype the next time round. Now I tell this very dramatic news. The next time I have to tell even more dramatic news, right? In order to capture audience attention, right? Now I show one shoulder to be sexy. Next time I have to show a little bit more. Next time I show even more, right? In order to keep capturing audience attention. Because it's not built on good storytelling, right? You have to create more and more hype in order to retain audience attention, right? And it also corrupts you as a person, your moral values. And it also hurts your personal branding. Your personal branding, your company branding, you put nonsense out there, people do not treat you with respect, right? So it hurts your branding. It's not good for you, right? And also it contributes to society's decline. But if we learn good storytelling techniques, one, it builds up your personal brand or corporate brand, right? Because now you are able to gain audience, and audience look at, oh no, you don't create nonsense. You actually create good stuff. There's depth in what you do. There's intelligence in what you do. Your personal branding gets better, right? Also, you get a better customer profile, better community profile. What's the use of creating, by being sexy, your community are all dirty old men? Okay, what's the use of a community like that, right? But if you got good branding, you get a better community as well. Okay, what kind of community do you want to build around yourself, right? What kind of friends you want following you, right? And also it helps you to stand out above your competition, because not many people have good storytelling techniques. You learn it well, you do better, right? And also it makes you feel better. You're prouder of what you do, right? And you contribute to the betterment of society. Okay, so I shall not talk too much. We shall look at some very, in my opinion, good videos that capture audience attention, right? In a very quick way. And then after that makes people feel better, right? So let's do the video. That's one video. A second video I want to show you guys.
เขาจะได้อะไร ถ้าเขาทำแบบนี้ทุกวัน เขาจะไม่ได้อะไรเลย ไม่ได้รวยขึ้น ไม่ได้ออกทีวี ไม่มีใครรู้จัก ไม่ได้มีชื่อเสียงที่มากขึ้น เพราะสิ่งที่เขาได้ คือได้แค่ความรู้สึก ได้เห็นความสุข ได้เข้าใจ ได้ความรัก ได้ในสิ่งที่เงินซื้อไม่ได้ ได้โลกที่สวยงามกว่าเดิม ในชีวิตคุณ อะไรคือสิ่งที่คุณต้องการมากที่สุด
ไทยประกันชีวิตเชื่อในความดี
Hey, these are actually TV advertisements. Right? These are actually TV advertisements. But it is more impacting than any TV advertisement that says, oh, my exercise equipment is the best, right? Or my insurance is better than other insurance. Of course, information is useful, right? But then these videos have all received millions of views, right? And people remember, right? Now, so there are a few tips, right, that we shall go through. And as we go through these tips, you see that actually those videos we saw just now were effective because of what we're going to learn here. So number one, we need to hook them instantly within the first 3 to 5 seconds, because how much time do people have nowadays, right? So as a movie maker, I go to different festivals, different markets, and that's when the distributors will buy the movies to show in their country, right? So I went for one of the screening, not my screening, some other people's screening. And then I saw, so a lot of people in the cinema, after 10 minutes, a lot of people walk out. And then I go for another screening, same thing, after 10 minutes, a lot of people walk out. I was thinking, why do all these people walk out after 10 minutes? These are all distributors. In fact, they only watch the first 10 minutes of the movie. Because if the first 10 minutes of the movie doesn't capture them, they don't want to buy, because they know, same thing, audiences don't give that kind of time, right? So the film has to capture people within the first 10 minutes for movies, right? Long movies, right? The film has to capture people within the first 10 minutes. If not, people don't watch. And I found out that that's my behavior on Netflix as well. My wife and I like to watch Netflix, right? We go to a title, we read the one-line description of the movie, we watch. First 10 minutes, if you're not interested, we jump to another film. We jump to another film. We jump to another film. Something, wow, this one looks interesting. Then we carry on watching, right? Now, that's for movies. People wait for 10 minutes. But for short videos, people wait a few seconds. And we see that in people's behavior, probably even your own. You scroll. First 3 seconds, interesting. You may watch the whole video. If not, you go on to the next one. So in the short videos that you produce, you must capture people in the first few seconds, right? Number two, right? You focus on one clear idea, 3 to 5 minutes, just one idea, and do that idea well. One message, one emotional payoff. People must feel touched or feel inspired or feel impacted in some way. Do that well. You don't want a complicated story in 3 to 5 minutes, right? Don't tell a big story, tell a sharp story. In fact, the two stories that we watched just now are normal everyday life. The old man is not some special person. He's just an ordinary old man. The other guy is just another man in the street, except that he is kinder, right? These are not big stories. These are everyday stories. And then with this one story, you build towards a payoff, right? A payoff. After that, people must be impacted. It can be emotional payoff. People have some, tears in their eyes. I've watched those two videos many, many times. But every time my eyes get a bit moist, right? People feel touched, or people feel, oh, this is so funny, right? Or people feel a sense of warmth, emotional payoff, or intellectual thing. People, whoa, I never thought of that. That's a good twist, right? Or the story has a twist that people, oh, this is smart, right? So you build towards payoff in the 2 to 3 minutes, right? And those two short films that we saw just now, there was that. There was the emotional payoff, and there was a twist, right? Like the old man, they build up the mystery. What is he doing? What is he doing? In fact, the audience are like, what's this old man doing? And they're like, some look at him, with old man trying to be fit again. The little kids were just imitating him. Even the daughter was concerned, why is he doing that? But then realized, oh, wow, this is such a nice, touching moment, right? There's emotional payoff. There's a twist in the end, a mystery that was revealed, right? And then you also use contrast for impact, right? The second video, right, the Thai video, we see the girl sad, begging for money. After that, she was happy in a school uniform, right? Serious, funny, happy, sad, angry, peaceful. You bring in contrasting emotions. At the start, you show one emotion. At the end, you show another emotion, right? Straight away, in 2 to 3 minutes, it captures people. And you leverage on familiar shortcuts. Okay, what we mean by familiar shortcuts. The old man, family, straight away we understand what it means. There's no need to describe too much. People know what an old man is, what the struggles of an old man. No need to elaborate that he's got backache. No need to elaborate that he is weaker than before, right? There was just one scene where he looked at himself in the mirror and he, okay, that's enough because people know how an old man feels, right? So people are familiar with it. Love, people are familiar with love, right? There's no need to elaborate too much. School, workplace, friendship. People are familiar with all of these settings. So in short stories, you put in familiar settings, people can fill in the gaps, right? So you don't need to spend too much time telling a story, right? And then you show more, you explain less. In the first video we saw just now, there was only one word. When the daughter came out to him, Papa, that's it. No other dialogue, right? In the second story, there was a voice-over narrator at certain points, right? You use the visuals to tell the story. more than you use dialogue to tell story. Now, is it wrong to use dialogue? No, nothing wrong. I've done movies that use dialogue, of course, right? But a lot of times, visual people register a lot more than from hearing, right? So try to use visual to tell the story more than using dialogue. Okay, then you structure it tightly. You do a quick setup, right? You build a conflict or tension. And then after it escalates, you have a payoff, right? Both stories we see the same thing, right? The setup, conflict tension, people, what is the old man doing? Is he hurting himself? Is he trying to be smart? What is he up to, right? It escalates and then finally, he does it because of his granddaughter. The second one, people, why is he helping a dog? Why is he helping the poor? And then it builds up. This man will never get rich. This man will never get famous. This man will never get more popular, right? It was building up. However, the payoff is in the emotion, right? The narration, build it towards that, right? So you escalate it and then you resolve it. So, and this is two examples written in 5 to 10 minutes, right? Of what I said just now, right? So imagine this is a video, right? Imagine I want to create a video. Now this is a testimony video, right? About how I got to know Christ. This is not my true story, yeah? I'm just writing a fictitious story. Okay. You want to tell a story of how I get to know Christ. I can tell it in the way of example one. I almost died when I was 21 in a terrible car accident that changed my life. But what hurt me more than my broken bones was the fact that no one visited. That shattered my heart. I had labored overtime for a company that appreciated my work but didn't care when I was hospitalized. And I go on to talk about how that made me think of Christ. I can have this opening, or I can have the second opening. Let me tell you the story about how I got to know Christ. One day I was driving on the highway. It was evening and the road was dark. I was sleepy after I worked overtime, but I wanted to get home as soon as possible. While driving, I almost dozed off, but suddenly a lorry came out of nowhere. It's like, which one captures your attention? Right? The first example catches your attention. Why? Straight away, people, whoa, accident. When you're that young. And it wasn't the injury that hurt you more. It was no one care that hurt you more, right? Straight away, people connect with me emotionally. I did not need to describe too much about me driving on highway, evening, road, and dark, all that, because it's a familiar setting. Everyone knows what a car accident is, right? Everyone knows how it is when we work till late at night and we're sleepy. There's no need to elaborate what people already know. Right? What you talk about, familiar setting, that's why you build it. So spend your time building what matters to people. Also, in example 2, I talk about me working overtime. But the first one I talk about, I work overtime, company appreciated my work, but didn't care that I was in hospital. They tell the same thing, that I work overtime. But the first one gives relevance to mentioning that I work overtime. Right? I contribute to the company, but people don't care. The second one, oh, you work overtime and so you were sleepy. No emotional connection there. Right? So 2 ways of starting a story, trying to capture people in the first few, in this case, 5 to 10 seconds, right? Quickly engaging with emotional payoff, emotional build-up, tension, escalation, or building the story, telling what people probably already know and heard of 10 times already. Okay, so different ways to build a story, right? So when you craft your story, think about what we covered just now, right? How to build it in a way that captures people. Okay, and some techniques for us to think about. One, humor, right? Go on YouTube, right, search for some very other inspiring videos like we saw earlier, you see many examples of good storytelling, sometimes with humor, sometimes without humor, right? Sometimes with irony, but it works well in shareability. People will want to share things that are funny or mystery, suspense, then with a review, right? Let audience speculate. Like the first video we saw, right? The old man, what is he doing? Right? You build a mystery and then you have a review. It becomes satisfying, right? Some people will, oh yeah, I never thought of that. Then some people, oh, I knew it all along, right? It gives people that satisfaction. Next, you have a twist in the tail, right? After that, oh, there's a different angle to it. You reframe everything, right? Or emotional build, you build an emotion and then after that as a release. Okay, so you notice the first two videos, right? It shows some of this. Misdirection. You lead the audience towards thinking one way, then after that, story reveals something else, right? Circular ending. After that, it connects back to the beginning. Especially the second video, the Thai video, you see a circular thing, right? Give food to the dog follows you home. Give money to the little girl, she wears a school uniform, right? Push the pot to the water, after that, the plant blossoms, right? A sense of completeness. Circular ending for the first one. You see him lifting the kettlebell, after that, he lifts his granddaughter up. It completes the loop. It builds satisfaction, right? A twist in the tail we covered already, right? I just revoked here. Okay, so that's what I want to share. I can go on talking, but this is a short basic workshop, right? And I want to pass on to David, who is a real master storyteller as well. Okay, so that's all I have to share. Any questions you have for me, we will tackle during the question and answer later.
Okay, thank you, Ginkai, for a wonderful. I learned a lot also, Ginkai. Hopefully, one day I can produce a very good, positive content. Yeah. All right.
Let's
Without
do it
further
together.
ado, without further ado, let me ask David Anthony Chance to continue this storytelling, the art of storytelling. David, the floor is yours. I don't see David in the Zoom. Is it he disconnected?
David is here. David, you are muted. I can see
Oh,
David's
muted.
video, but it's muted.
Oh, okay. Yus, boleh tolong di spotlight, David?
Okay. He's co-host. No, I think just now he wasn't co-host. Okay.
Yeah,
Hello.
okay,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Hello, everybody. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Is it okay? Is it
Yep.
sharing?
Yep.
All right. So,
Maybe you want to speak a little bit slower, yeah?
okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to talk about the art of storytelling. And to continue on what Jinkai has taught, I'm going to share a little bit on the other side of storytelling. So we will go top down. Every story will have one of the four things: theme, the plot, characters, and the story world. So before we move forward, I just want to remind everybody that the theme is more like the message you want to share, and the characters is what will bring that message to life. And of course, there is a plot, and they are inside a story world. So whether it is this world or a sci-fi or fantasy world, these four should always work together, right? So one of the things that I always tell my friends, especially when I do these workshops, is to know the difference between the premise, the plot, and the theme. So if you have seen The Lord of the Rings, the premise is the first one. The Hobbit must bring the Dark Lord's ring to Mount Doom. The plot is everything that happens. And the theme are like the lessons, the small lessons. The biggest problems people have is when they confuse the premise with the plot, or they preach the theme, or they have a very cool, very good premise, but they have a very weak plot. All right. So, um, one of the biggest weaknesses, I think, with a lot of especially faith-based stories is the preaching of the theme. It's not a story, it sounds more like a sermon. So we have to make sure that the story delivers the theme without preaching it. So once that's clear, I want to talk about the 7 tools of fiction. So every story, if it's a novel, a script, a movie, a film, they will use all the 7 tools. The difference is how the tools show up on the medium. So here's an example. A girl is waiting at a cafe. Her ex walks in. How is this shown in books versus in films? So this is what the 7 tools will solve. So let's take a look at them one by one. Okay. So these are the 7. The internal tools, external, and structural. So for internal, you have the internal monologue, interior emotions. For external, you have action and dialogue because that is something everybody can see. And structural is description, flashback, and narrative summary. We'll go through them one by one, and we'll use the same example so it's not confusing. So here, a girl is waiting at a cafe. Her ex walks in. The action, the big question is, what does this behavior reveal? So in the book, she will grip her cup, her hand trembles. But in the film, maybe you close up a shaking of the hands. So the point is to make your action visible, okay, so people can see. And the purpose is to reveal the character, to show the character through their behavior. So people, the audience should get to know the character through behavior. The mistake most people do is empty movement. So there is no showing of what happened to the character and nothing is happening. So that is the biggest mistake. So tip, use action instead of explanation because the action will always say so much more than explaining. But in dialogue, the big question should be, what is the character not saying? So that makes it more powerful. Because if the ex walks in and just says, "Hello, I'm here to buy coffee," it sounds boring. Because it's a cafe, of course, they're there to buy coffee. But if they start talking, don't talk about what's obvious, talk about what's not very obvious so that there is subtext, right? So the purpose is to reveal the character and move the story at the same time. And the mistake is the on-the-nose dialogue. So if you're waiting in the cafe and then they ask, can you imagine the conversation if they say, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm buying coffee." "What about you?" "I am waiting here." There is nothing that's really happening. They're only stating the obvious, right? So let the characters avoid saying what they feel. Let the characters show the feeling instead. And the description, the question is, why does this detail matter? So in the book, you always describe, right, the cafe that smells like burnt coffee, maybe the sounds of the cling, 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 the spoon, the fork, the plate, maybe there's background music. For film, you're establishing shot, lighting, background music, right? So what you're trying to do is build the mood. So in horror, imagine watching a horror movie, but you're playing a Disney song soundtrack. You will not be afraid anymore. Or you're watching Disney, but you are playing the Jaws soundtrack. It's going to feel confusing, right? So the description for the film is establishing the mood. So the problem is when we over describe or we info dump. So only describe what affects the character. If it doesn't affect the character, remove it from the scene, remove it from your book, remove it from the film. Okay. Next is internal monologue. The question will be, is this thought necessary? I read a really interesting book where the character or the character had obsessive compulsive disorder in the book. So the thoughts of the character is also repetitive. Now, in the book, it's very annoying, but when it's translated to film, it looks good, right? So some stories are great with film, other stories are great in the book. So it will depend. In the film, if you do internal monologue, it's usually in voiceover, or you replace it with very, very, very good acting. So they should be able to show their emotions through their acting skills. All right. So the purpose really is to show the thoughts directly if you're reading a book. If you're watching it in a film, it should show it through actions. And the biggest mistake people do here is slowing the pace. If you watch Filipino drama, this is the biggest mistake of Philippine drama. There is so much slow pacing when things are supposed to already happen in a big way. Philippine drama tend to slow down, and that bores people. So I don't know why our cinema still does that, but we don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. All right, so it should be sharp and it should be purposeful. For the emotion, the interior emotion, the biggest question is, can you show this instead? So in the book, you can say panic rises in her chest, but in the film, it's easier. It depends on your director. You need to have a very good director to bring out the emotion of the actor. If the purpose is to let the audience feel what the character feels, then it will work if the audience feels it. So, for example, if you watch a girl is waiting at a cafe and the ex walks in and the girl shows anger, the audience will feel angry. If the girl shows sadness, the audience will usually feel sad. So audiences have a way of connecting to the character that they are watching or they are reading. So you have to make sure that these two emotions and these two people, the character and the audience, connect. The biggest mistake is when they name the emotions. That is one of my pet peeves as well when reading books. When they say, I'm so sad, don't tell us you're sad. I want to see the tears. I want to see the makeup get destroyed on the face as they cry. I want to see the person maybe not drink, not eat, just lie down or sit down, stare at the wall, things like that. So we should see it. And so it's to show the emotion through body and reaction. Flashback. This is what I really enjoy using, but the trick is to not overuse. So if a girl is waiting at a cafe and her ex walks in, the question of the flashback is, does it change the present? So in the book, there's 3 months ago. In the film, you know what it looks like. There's a flashback. But there's a very important question here. Does it give your past context that will affect the present? Okay, so that's the purpose. It gives past context that affects the present. So don't just give random backstory dumping. When you give so much backstory, it doesn't affect anyone, it doesn't affect anything, it doesn't change how people view the present, then it's a wrong flashback. So the purpose of the flashback must change how the audience sees the present. So maybe if the girl is waiting at a cafe and her ex walks in, if she smiles, then you're thinking maybe she wants to get back with the ex. Maybe she wants them to fall in love all over again and get back together. So that's why she's smiling. But what if you show a flashback where the ex is actually a very evil person, a very bad boy, and so this girl is planning her revenge. So her smile will have a different meaning. From wanting to get back with her, you know this is a revenge story, and she's trying to trick the ex-boyfriend, right? So your flashback will must change how the audience sees the current scene or the present scene. And lastly, narrative summary. In books, this is when you just narrate the whole thing. They hadn't spoken in years, or this or that did not happen, or that happened. Uh, there's a very brilliant way that Stephanie Meyer did this using Twilight. when, I don't know if you guys have read the books, but when Edward and Bella broke up, in the book, Bella was very depressed. And the book said, the next few months, there was nothing. She saw nothing, felt nothing, tasted nothing in the book. Okay? And then when you flip the page, it just says August, and then there's nothing. When you flip the next page, September, it says nothing. And then when you flip the next page, August, September, October, and then there's nothing on the page. So that's a very smart way of showing nothing. In the movie, it's by montage. So you do the like there's a background music playing, and then a lot of romantic scenes happen very quickly. So that's the montage, right? So the big tip here is, if it's not important to dramatize, just summarize. So this is to compress time, to deliver information quickly, but don't overuse it because it can also make the film boring. And if there are many boring parts, just skip it. And that is how, by narrative summary. So these are the 7 tools of fiction. And this might feel a little basic. So I'm going to give you guys a few more things that you can take a look at. Now, this is very, very fun for heroes and villains and characters. So because characters are so important to the story. So for every character or hero or good guy, you need to have 3 factors: the genes, resources, and personality. Okay? So genes, these are traits that the character is born with. Maybe they're beautiful, intelligent, talented, things like that. Resources, these are things that the character inherited or earned. So money, their network, reputation, and then personality, the values and convictions that make the character admirable. Let's take a look at Iron Man. Iron Man has genes. He's intelligent. He's very smart. He has resources, right? He's very rich. He has connections. But his personality, he's very, very arrogant. He's very boastful. He's overconfident. If you think of Spider-Man, genes, he inherits superpowers because of the spider bite. He has great personality. He wants to help people. He's very kind. He's very generous, but resources he doesn't have, right? He's usually very poor, or he doesn't have enough money. So when it comes to heroes, let them have 1 or 2, but never all 3. Okay, because if they have all 3, then your character is perfect and there is no room for character development. So my trick is to always have 1 or 2 of these. Think of K-dramas. If you look at K-drama, it's always the same. The male and the female both have genes, and usually the male will have resources, the female lead does not. And for the personality, the male lead is usually the one that does not have a good personality, right? He has some trauma, he's a very arrogant boss, he's a very cold kind of person, and usually it's the female lead who has all the personality. She's funny, she's kind, she's generous, and all of that, right? So let them have 1 or 2, but never 3. So this is what this is the template that most people use when they make stories, especially when they want to make compelling characters. When you look at villains, they have 2 factors. They have redemptive qualities and they have believability. So let's take a look at Loki. If you're familiar with Marvel, Loki has very, very strong redemptive qualities. He's smart, he's funny, he's charming, and he is also believable. His backstory tells you about his past, his anger, his insecurities, and that's what makes him believable. Another character with very strong redemptive qualities is Thanos. He might be a villain, but he has conviction. He has very strong beliefs. He's very brave. He's willing to self-sacrifice for what he believes is the greater good. For believability, it's easy to believe in him because of everything that has happened in his past, right? When his planet starved of resources, and then half his planet he wanted to cull half his planet, and then the entire planet died instead. So redemptive qualities and believability. So these are tricks to build your characters in ways that people will enjoy watching or reading your story, because your story will always, always, always be driven by your characters. Now, always remember this. If your character has weak desires, it will have very weak plots, because a plot is pressure that is applied to the desire of your character. In other words, plot comes from character pressure. So when the desire is very strong and obstructed, a story emerges. Okay? So just remember this. You have characters, goals, conflicts, and stakes. Your characters will always have goals. The goals will always have conflicts. And if the conflict is so strong and the character does not get the goal, there must be high stakes. Okay? So the conflict and the character, there is external and internal. We talked about that. For the goals, there should be cause and effect. If they get the goal, what is the effect? Very happy, everyone celebrates. If they don't get the goal, maybe the world will be destroyed, or the virus will go all over the world, or a dog or a pet or a loved one will die. So big stakes, right? So the goal or the desire must be false or incomplete. Desire must be both unconscious and conscious, and your want is what drives the story forward. Okay, so what you need should drive the character inward. So what does that mean? The external desire of the character will drive the story forward, but the unconscious need is what drives the character inward to himself, right? So let's take a look at some examples. Iron Man, okay, Iron Man, his want is to protect the whole world, right? He wanted to have the Avengers and to cover the world with an armor with his armor. That is his external want. But his internal need, unconscious need, really is just to have his own family, to protect the ones that he loves, to make sure that everyone he cares about is safe, right? If we look at the opposite, right, Loki, go to the very end, Loki, it looks like his external want is to be king of Asgard, to rule Asgard, to be the next All-Father. But what is his real need? His real need is family, to be loved, to be accepted, to feel that he belongs with a family, to have a brother, right? So you have the external and you have the internal. You have the conscious and you have the unconscious. When you put all those together, you will have wonderful characters that people will love. Now, this is interesting. If we give character wounds, then characters will feel even more real. Because isn't it true we all have wounds? We all have, if not all of us have past trauma, all of us have fear, all of us have guilt, all of us have shame, right? All of us can relate. Even if we come from a loving family, all of us have experienced that someone failed us. Maybe someone abandoned us. Maybe we abandoned someone else. Maybe we failed someone else. So past wounds, okay, if we have past wounds and we can relate with past wounds, then characters in your story that also have past wounds will be very relatable to your audience and to your reader. And so the goal will become personal, and the characters will become active drivers of the story. They will make decisions because decisions have weight, emotional weight, and people will connect deeply. All right. So remember always that the goal is what they chase, but the wound is what drives the chase. So go back here. Think of Loki. His wound is he doesn't have family. So what is he chasing for? He's really chasing for family. He doesn't do it the correct way. He's trying to get family by becoming king, by ruling, by manipulating, by tricking people. His ways are wrong, but the desire is very clear, and that is what drives Loki's story forward. So these are tricks to make your characters wonderful. Now, let me give you one last part, symbols and ironies, and then I'll just give you a bonus, okay? So symbols and ironies. Character objects will always give a better way for audiences and readers to remember and relate with their characters. So let's talk about this first. This is Excalibur, the sword from the stone that King Arthur removes from the stone to become king. But who was King Arthur? King Arthur was not a noble. He was a peasant. He was a poor peasant boy or farm boy who had no noble blood, no noble lineage. King Arthur, before he was king, he was nobody. The sword came from stone. Now, the sword itself is valuable. The sword is precious. The sword symbolizes power and authority. But it had to be removed from the stone or dirt. So the sword and the character are the same thing. So King Arthur was no one. The sword was inside the stone. It was nothing or worthless. For King Arthur to become king, he had to be removed from the dirt. For the sword to be valuable, it had to be removed from the stone. So they connect. The object and the character are the same thing. If we look at Cinderella and the glass slipper, this is my favorite example, my very favorite example, because it shows both symbolism and irony. Why? What is a slipper? A slipper is something that you step on. Cinderella was stepped on. And Cinderella was stepped on by the step sisters and the stepmother. Now the slipper is below or beneath. Cinderella was also below and beneath them. But the glass slipper, glass is supposed to be weak. Glass is supposed to break. But the glass slipper did not break. Cinderella was supposed to break. The stepsister and stepmother tried to break Cinderella, but Cinderella also did not break, just like the glass slipper. Last, a slipper is not supposed to look nice. A slipper is supposed to be dirty, but the glass slipper is beautiful. Cinderella is also beautiful. So we see the symbolism and the irony all in the same object and the character. That's why it is these kinds of techniques send a subconscious message to the reader or to the viewer. Last is the ring. This ring in Lord of the Rings, it's supposed to symbolize sin or temptation. And the temptation here for the ring, when you wear it, when Frodo wears the ring, what happens? He becomes invisible, right? Now, how does temptation and sin work? It will always tempt you by making you believe you will be invisible. If you do something wrong, you will not get caught. If you do this sin, no one will know, no one will see, right? It's the same effect that the ring has when they wear it. So you see that there are symbolisms and ironies that connect. And if we use these, then it will make the characters even more memorable. And of course, there are so many more examples. The shield of Captain America, the hammer of Thor, what else? The crossbow of Daryl in Walking Dead. So many other symbolisms. Lastly, this, I will not go through this anymore, but I thought I would give this so you can just take a screenshot of this. If you want, you can Google and search more about Save the Cat. Just type on the upper left, it says Save the Cat dialogue. But I never saw something like this on Google, so I made it for you guys. So please feel free to take a screenshot of this so you can do more research on it. And here's another one in case you want a different version. This is the hero's journey. Feel free also to take a screenshot and then you can, this is easy to Google. There's so many on Google that you can get, but this table is not on Google, so I made a table for you. So please take a screenshot of this. I'm sure this will come in very helpful, especially when you understand how to use it. Okay. So that's it for now from me, and we'll do more things with question and answer. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
All right. Thank you, David. Wow. It's making a film or short video. It's not that simple, but now we are being equipped by all the techniques and everything that at least that open up and widen our perspective, right, in terms of how to make a good content, positive content. Okay, now use tolong di manage speaker. Okay. All right, now is the time for us to do the question and answer. Let me check first in the chat, right? Okay, there is one question from SMP Sentul Uni. I have a question. The competition requires an original video, but what about the story? Does it have to be original? Can I just take a tale from a book and then produce my own video? All right, Ginkai, maybe you want to answer it?
Yes, it has to be original because we have to respect other people's copyright. So if you just take someone else's book and you produce it, then you are infringing on someone's copyright. But like I mentioned before, there is no original story, right? You can always be inspired by one story, but you put a totally different context to it, right? Like say Pretty Woman, Crazy Rich Asian is the same story, but very different context, right? So you can borrow the same story structure. Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story is the same story, right? And so there's many. Meteor Garden is Cinderella story, right? So you notice you give a different context, it becomes original. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any other question. Anyone want to raise a question? You can speak in Bahasa, then I will help translate it for the speaker today. Anyone want to ask directly? Raise the hand. We still have time. Or you prefer to put it in the chat, then we can see it as well. Okay, there is one from Latita. Sometimes when writing a story, you get stuck for ideas. How do you usually overcome this? Okay, anyone? Any? David or Kinkai?
David?
Maybe you have different tips.
Yeah, when I get stuck, normally what I do is I take a step back. So just don't think of the story. Just stop your brain from thinking about it and do something that is not active. So something that makes you active, so maybe you run, you jog, you walk, or maybe just walk around the house, walk down the street, walk down your neighborhood. So that's one. Or stimulate your mind with creative things. Maybe go to a museum or listen to music, watch movies. But don't think of your story, and then go to sleep. The next day, after you do all those activities, the next day your brain is refreshed. It will start moving again in that direction. That's what I always do, and it always worked.
Kinkai, you want to add?
Yeah. For me, okay. So it depends on what you're talking about, right? Are you talking about conceptualizing an idea, right? You have no ideas. You want to find an idea, or are you talking about you already have an idea and you are halfway through it, then you're stuck, right? So different issues, right? I find that ideas come very randomly, but the problem is sometimes the idea is here, then after some time I forget about it, right? So when ideas come, write it down, right? Who knows what you may want to do with it in future, okay? But if let's say you are already doing it and you get stuck, then what David says makes sense, okay? What I do, okay, only for people who are above 18, I drink a glass of wine. I I start my writing after 12. That's for me because that's when my brain, everyone else is asleep. I listen to music, I got a glass of wine, I'm in the setting, and then it becomes easier for me to for the mind to flow. Okay. I find that if I have 2 glasses of wine, I cannot write also. Okay. Because then after that, the brain is not alert anymore. Right? Or sometimes walking helps. Okay. People find that as you walk, right, the brain sort of unclogs, right? Walking helps. So there are times when I go out for a walk. As I walk, I sort of analyze through the story again, right? And also, it's always good to have friends. Okay, sometimes I test my stories with friends. Okay, they say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Hey, but oh yeah, I'm stuck. What do you have any idea? Right? So work with friends. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Rico Ang asking, if we were to produce a video, would you recommend only using one medium, which is live action or animation, or is it all right to incorporate both?
Yeah. You can do both. Incorporating both means it's more complex. Okay. Because one is harder for you. Okay. But then there are a few films that actually have both, right? Animation and live action together. It's just tougher. But if you got a story that deserves can be told better with a mixed medium, then by all means, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then the next one is from, okay, let me see, make sure that I don't miss anybody. After Rico is from Fifi Cimahi. Can the video for competition be edited on smartphone?
Yes, use any format. Okay, you want to shoot and edit on your smartphone, you want to shoot it vertically, horizontally, that's okay also. You want to use AI, that's also okay. You want to, or even not a continuous video. You show one shot, 2 seconds later, you show another shot, 2 seconds later, you show another shot, right? You put it to music and you some words, that is also okay, right? In the end, it's a video. So, and we notice that on social media, there are many different formats now, right? That somehow, if it's well done, then any format works, right? So in the end, it's still good storytelling. For our hackathon, any format.
Thank you. Daryl Jericho asking, does the maximum duration have to be exact 5 minutes or can it be a little bit longer?
Okay. For the hackathon, let's try to keep within 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah. But then of course what you produce and put out, right, by all means do longer stuff, right? Or sometimes have director's cut. Okay. In the film world, right? Sometimes we have a version, right? We always have to try to keep it short enough, right? But then, wow, there's so much more we want to tell. Then we do a separate director's cut. Okay. And on DVD, back when there were DVDs, right, we have a longer director's cut.
Okay, the next one is asking about Mr. David. How can beginners create a meaningful story? David?
I think the best thing for me, I love this question, by the way. Think of a theme, something that means a lot to you, something that's meaningful, something that's very precious, very valuable to you. And then from there, you can start creating characters and plots and events that talk about that theme. So for me, for example, for me personally, it's my faith. So I tend to take values from the Bible or values from my faith that I believe is extremely important. And then I make stories that bring those values out into the story, from the story. So that's it's always best to if your theme or comes from something you personally believe in, something that comes from your heart. And yeah, from there, the story will naturally come out.
Okay, thank you. The next question is Juliati Darmawan. what is the best way to make a video using a puppet?
Using a puppet.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Puppet. That's I think just a standard way, right? It's like any live action shoot, right? You control. What I have to be careful about, right, is puppets can't show emotions on the face, right? Puppets are very limited movements as well. Okay, so then how do you convey emotions? How do you convey movement with that limitation? Okay, then character development becomes harder, story arc becomes harder. So your storyline, okay, must be strong without relying on emotions. How do you craft that, right? So of course, some people have still done that, right? When I was young, I watched the Muppet Show, right? It was fun, okay? But then what happened was, then a lot of it was fun and simple message. Okay, because you know you are restricted on the other two limitations, right? Which is movement and character, facial expression. Yeah. So you simplify the story.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a lot of questions here. Maybe we need to go a bit faster. For both speaker, when we want to make a story of place, even or destination, is all those technique will useful, or there are different ways to consider it? That means they make a story of a place or destination. Okay, Annie, Kinkai or David?
Okay, sure. For me, it really depends. If you're focusing really on the place, you have to consider, if it's movie, of course, your budget, if the place will allow filming there, so all these external things. But if you're just thinking of the story itself, consider first, what is the specific thing about the place that you want to highlight? Because many times, I watched movies about places and they tend to go everywhere, but the message is nowhere. So it's just too many things at the same time. So focus on one thing and then let the other things, other factors just be peripherals, but focus on the one specific thing you want to highlight about the place and then make your story revolve around that. So that's my tip for place.
Yeah. I like to work with place, right? Because every place actually has got a lot of potential for story, right? I once wrote a story, right, about a woman who works in a flower shop, right? Why a woman works with flower shop? Because everyone who goes and buy a flower has got a love story, right? It could be self-love because buying for themselves. It could be love for someone else, romantic love. It could be to visit someone in hospital, which is a different kind of care, right? So that is a story where a lot of love stories that is a location where a lot of love stories can congregate, right? The other day I was brainstorming with another friend. We said, okay, a barber shop is a very interesting place as a location. And then he said, why? I said, imagine, barber shop, they cut your hair. And for the guys, you also put your neck there. They use a sharp knife to shave for you. You are putting your throat up to a person with a sharp knife. It's like, you have so much trust in that, right? And of course, in the barber shop, right, then a lot of people go there all at the mercy of his knife. And people go to the barber shop, they talk. What if he hears all sorts of stories that happened? And then one day he decides to take action because now the person is at his mercy. It's like, whoa, okay, a lot of things can happen, right? So think about the location and what can be special about that place, right? So whether it is a cafe or a story or a barber shop or a florist, right? There's something unique about this where you can use it to enhance your story.
Okay. All right. Now we move to Faris Budianto from SMPK Immanuel Pontianak in Kalimantan. All right. His question is this. If a story has the same plot but a different context, does that make it an original story? Wouldn't that risk boring the audience if the plot is already very common? And what should be improved if that happens?
Okay. Someone's once make an analysis. There are only 7 original plots, and all other stories revolve around this 7. Uh, yeah, okay. And you think through, right? And you can Google that. What are the 7 story plots, right? And then after you think through every story, it actually follows one of these 7, right? And we are still reading books, right? We are still watching YouTube, going to movies and all that, when all of them revolve around these 7 plots. Okay, so meaning 7 plots have any plot is fine. Okay, make sure it's a different enough context. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's answering the question. Next one from Wilik. Usually, how long do you need to create a script of short movie? Movie producer, Ginkai?
Uh, I don't know. That's very hard to answer. It can be very long, can be very short. For me, 2 weeks, usually about 2 weeks to write a short
Wow,
clip.
that's very
Yeah.
fast, 2 weeks.
Yeah, but because that's my work.
You're professional. All right, okay. Let's move to
Yeah.
another one. Ada sorry. Yeah, Ada Fatigea. In making storytelling, do we tell ourselves story or another story? Do we tell ourselves story or another story?
Oh, you're talking about, is a question, do we tell our own story or someone else's story? Is that the
Yes,
question?
yes, yes. I think
Okay.
that is the question.
Yeah. David?
Up to you. It's really up to you. There are biographies, autobiographies, and there are people who write fiction, which is not your story. Other people write their own story, tell their own stories using fictional characters and fictional worlds. It's also okay. So it's really up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my own personal story is not interesting, right? So I don't tell my story, but some of the thoughts that has crossed my mind as I grow and evolve as a human being are interesting, right? Though my personal life story is not interesting, but what I've thought of is interesting, right? So 2 years ago, I wrote a story called Samurai Saint based on 16th century Japan, right? So of course not my story, right? That's a long time ago. But the personal struggles I had at that time, I put it into the story, right? Because no one's interested in Jinkai's story, but people are interested in the samurai story. But personal struggles I had at the time, I put it into that story. So in a sense, that's me in that story.
Okay, that actually answering the next question, Daryl Jericho, which is, can we use personal experience as the inspiration of plot in writing story? I think Ginkai already mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
As an example. Okay, Adele Supriyanto for David. For Mr. Chan, oh, we have two Chan here. What are the most important elements in making a short video impactful? What is the most important elements?
Okay. Well, so just now I listed 7, right? But for me, I think it's capturing people in the first 3 to 5 seconds. Because if not, if the story is so good, but people don't watch beyond the first 10 seconds, then it's wasted. And sometimes that happens. I've watched longer, but then later it's like, wow, but their hits, their likes are very low because I guess a lot of people don't even watch it. Right. So how do you capture it, right? Besides telling a good story.
Okay. Now coming from Johan, before we can write a long story, what exercise can we do with a lighter load to achieve the target of long story? David?
Okay. My trick is I always ask questions. So this is what I do in my other workshops with people who, for example, I ask them, okay, you have a character who has a knife, so a small dagger. Okay, question: where did the dagger come from? It comes from his grandfather. Where did the grandfather get the dagger? From a war between two chieftains in an island. Is the island normal or are there gods in it? Are there creatures in it? Okay, there's a creature. What is the creature? What does it do? Where does it come from? What does it want? The more you ask different questions and go nuts, ask so many different weird questions, a lot of people will end up having an expanded form of their story. And then you can start deciding which parts you will include. But that's my trick. I ask questions.
Wow, that one is very powerful. Okay, let's move on. Davin asking, can I copy a dialogue from a movie or a TV series?
In a book, yes, but it's tricky because of copyright. So
Yeah.
you can paraphrase, and it really depends if you're writing a story that um, mentions it or if you are quoting it word for word. So if it's word for word, it's probably best not to do that.
Mm.
But if you're just referencing, you may, but you have to look at the specific copyright that the other what you're copying already has, just to make sure you don't get in legal trouble. So it's really case to case, but you have to do your research on each one.
Yeah.
For books,
Okay.
I don't know about the movies.
Yeah, you can do it as a quote, right? So for
Mm.
example, right, and this person is talk, okay, this is all much ado about nothing, right? Oh, that's from Shakespeare, right? But then in that scenario, he is quoting Shakespeare, right? So it's not stealing from Shakespeare, it's just that the character is quoting Shakespeare. That's okay, right? Or it's expressed in admiration of something else. Hey, so a character says, hey, remember in Jaws? Okay, that sheriff said that, right? So in reference, in appreciation, you can, right? But disguise as a person's own dialogue, okay, we can't do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Jovi asking, what small mistake that every people do when they start creating storytelling? What is the small mistake? Wow, this is very interesting question.
There's a lot. Okay, let me start. There are two that I can think of right now that's very common. Mistake number one is they start with an introduction of themselves without anything happening. So imagine if it starts with, um, if the book starts with, my name is so and so, I work here, I teach there, I lived here all my life. It's a self-introduction. It doesn't grab attention. But if you start with something that's already happening or introduce them in a way that it's in the middle of something, then it makes a more interesting case, or people would start reading the book more. So that's the first common mistake. The second common mistake I noticed, especially with storytelling, is um, as this is in writing, is when all of your characters are or you have one main character and all the other characters are just trying to support this one character, and they don't have their own agenda, their own goals, their own hopes, their own dreams. It's not really believable, because in real life we have our own dreams, right? We're not living just for somebody else, right? It's ourselves first, of course God, and then self. But so yeah, those two common mistakes I see all the time.
Okay, that's a good tips. All right, Bagio Cahyadi asking, David, would you tell which of the novels you and author is your favorite and most challenging one, and why?
The most favorite and the most challenging one is the same thing. It's the Kindred Chronicles. It's my first ever because it's 5 books. It's my favorite because I put everything I loved into that one story. I love swords with names. I love magic. I love powers. I love urban fantasy. So everything I like, from anime to manga to books to movies, I put them all there. And then it has its own language. I created a fictional language, so everything I love is there. But it's also the most challenging because it has 6 different plots. So one big plot with 5 subplots, and it has 3 different subgenres and 4 different main tropes. So that's why it's also the most difficult. But it's very fulfilling. It's extremely fulfilling for me to finish, and I will finish the last one next year. So yeah.
Oh, it's not finished yet. I see.
Yeah, 1 to 4 is done. Book 5 is coming out next year, the last.
Wow, making a good business, yeah, David. Okay, Abigail asking about how do I make a short video that is interesting and also has a good plot, even though the video is short and only done by 3 or 4 people.
Okay. So YouTube is the best teacher. Yeah. So just now I showed you two videos, right? And if you search, you can find more similar kind. Now, but of course, these are done with professional budgets, right? So of course the quality is much better. But you will see like what I did during the lesson just now. They all follow the same few points, right? In order to create an impact. So even with smaller budgets, even without professional cameras, if you can achieve those few points that we talked about, it will still be a great story. Yeah. And of course, now with AI, you can do more with smaller budgets with your mobile phone. The mobile cameras are as good as the old cameras you used 30 years ago, big cameras. Yeah. So yeah, just
Okay.
learn the tips.
The next question comes from Olga. My question is, how do you become a great content creator? Is there a writing framework that can serve as a guide for beginner?
Ooh, good question. I think if you say content creator, that's more social media. But for social media, it's a different template. There are many templates on Google that you can actually already get, but it has to do with being catchy, making content that immediately catches the attention within the first 3 seconds. In fact, now it's 1.5 seconds. But then after that, you need to make sure the content continues, which is also engaging. So my suggestion is to always just stick with the good values that you have and then focus on those, because those are the things that make content creators become memorable. They're remembered for the good that they contribute and the value that they give. So
Thank
that would.
you. Thank you. Okay, Desi asking, how do you determine when a scene should be slow and when it should be fast to build attention?
Okay. We talk about movies, right? Or even books. I like the example that David gave just now, right? About what that character, one page just August, one page just September, because certain scenes, there's no need to elaborate too much, right? So you just go quickly through them, right? Or even what I shared just now, where family scene, people know what the family is, right? Unless the focus very much is a family drama, then you may want to show a little bit more. But if not, if it's an action movie, the family scene is not important, only sufficient to show that he's a family man, and so when he died, we should sympathize with him. Other than that, no need to have long family scenes, right? So think of your message and what you want to achieve, right? Not how you want to craft each scene beautifully, but does this scene serve the message, serve the plot of the movie, right? There's a difference between a writer who becomes a director. This is what we see in our experience, right? There are writers who become directors. There are cinematographers who become directors, right? Cinematographer is the one who frames the camera. Personally, generally, right? I always find writers become better directors than cinematographers. Because cinematographer, they want everything looks so nice and pretty, make sure the framing is nice, make sure the everything, but does it serve the story, right? If it doesn't serve the story, then it doesn't. So you need to think about, does it serve the story? So that decides whether it's short, it's long, and yeah, that's how you do that.
Okay, we have 12 minutes left. Okay, coming from Darman, for David. Jesus has a perfect character. He possesses all three elements that define character. Now, for example, if we wanted to make a film with character as perfect as Jesus, would it be possible to create an interesting story?
Wonderful question. Okay, if you study the life of Jesus when he was in on earth, he has all except resources. He is not a military leader. He does not have all the money. He does miracles, yes, but he always needs to go and ask people to let him stay in certain places. He even said, "Foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to rest his head." Right? So there are even Jesus, the perfect storyteller, came to earth and so I don't want to preach, but he came to earth and limited himself with resources so that he can show to us that we can relate with him. God the Father, it's so difficult to relate because he has everything and he is spirit. But with Christ, we can even say, did Jesus ever experience getting bit by a mosquito? Because right, and I believe, of course, the answer is yes. So we can say he can say he can really relate with us, right? But for a story, if you want to make a perfect character, you may, but it's going to be very challenging because there has to be limitations for character to develop. Even in the story of Jesus, when he returns, that is when he returns with his full glory from the heavens with all the horses and the angels. So not to sound like I am writing the story of God, but there is character development from the first coming to the second coming of Christ. There is still that glow up of resources, right? And the army comes, and so yeah, yeah, you can do that. You can. It's just more challenging if there's no flow.
All right. Just a reminder for everyone, please fill in the daftar absen, right? The link is already there. The participation link is already there. Okay. Now next, Jillian, if we make a story, should we describe all the characters, like the color of the hair, their eyes, or we can just tell about their personality to make people really know the character?
If I may, no, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Some you can, some you should, but not everybody. Because the brain, when people read, the brain automatically fills in details. So if you say handsome or sharp features, my type of beauty might be different from your type of beauty. So if you let my brain interpret what's beautiful in my mind, I'm more attached to the character because my brain is telling me that the character looks a certain way, which is beautiful to me. So you don't have to describe every character and every detail.
Okay, the next one from Luminar. Like the other previous question related to mixed media format, live action plus animation plus other, what should be avoided to execute this format correctly and effectively to the audience to understand?
Okay. That is a more technical course, which I think I would not be equipped because we will have to show all that. But like I said, mixed medium complicates life, okay, of a producer or of a production team, right? Do it if it's necessary for your story. If it's not, keep it simple, especially for short stories, right? But of course, if you're doing your school project, you need to demonstrate that you know every tool, then by all means, right? But if you just want to do something that you want to post up for personal, becoming content creator, right? Keep it simple and keep the story impactful. Yeah, keep the production simple, keep the story impactful.
Keep the production simple and the story impactful. Wow, that is a good one. Okay, in Sari Puspita asking, in a story, is it better to present the goal or moral message of the story at the beginning or at the end?
I would say the moral of the story or the theme is like an undercurrent. So if you go to the beach, there is a current above and the undercurrent below. So the theme should be an undercurrent. The best stories are stories where the theme is not even mentioned or not even preached. You could use one of your characters to say it to another character, so they're both talking. So one character is talking to the other, that's fine. But the most powerful ones are the ones where the reader or the audience goes out thinking. There's a debate in their mind thinking, was it correct? Was what this character did right? Would I have done the same thing? That way it will stick more. So that's you'll see that in Lord of the Rings, beautiful ending, where Frodo actually does not throw the ring. He keeps it, right? And Gollum jumps on him, and then they fight, and then Gollum falls. And it tells us that it is really not our strength, but it is only by grace that we can do the right thing. If it is by our strength, we will always fail and sin and do the wrong thing. But that made everybody feel like, why did they fail? I thought Frodo was the innocent one, and even he failed because we all need grace. So those messages will stick more if the message is not even preached, but it's shown.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
what we are very careful of is if we are preachy, people will turn off. Okay, that's people's normal reaction, right? So we mustn't be preachy. People want to be treated as intelligent, right? People want to be respected. So if we tell everything too obviously, they actually don't like it. But give them enough to discover on their own, right? And they feel a deeper satisfaction. Yeah. So whether it's presented at the beginning or the end, actually it's presented in the course of the story. But even then, don't put it in bold words. You have to be kind, right? Okay, let them discover, it's good to be kind. Yeah.
Okay. We are almost end. We are 5 minutes to go. There is a question from Mutiara. So the video we need to do doesn't really need a dialogue, but needs to be convey the meaning of our theme, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
the answer is yes. Correct. Okay.
Dialogue, no dialogue, any language is fine. Yeah. But if you do what we want to request is provide an English subtitle. Even if there's no dialogue, provide English subtitle. If there's okay, sorry. If there's no dialogue, no need for any subtitle. But if there's a Bahasa dialogue, provide English subtitle so that it's easier for people worldwide to be able to see your video. Yeah.
Okay, next one is, what is the maximum number of people allowed to be video actors?
Video actors or okay.
Video
Actors.
actors, number maximum people.
Okay. If you can hire 1,000 extras to go, no limitation of video actors. But if you're talking about to produce the video, we have a limitation of 4.
4 people in the team.
Four in the
Yes.
team.
Okay.
Yes.
I already explained that one.
Yeah.
Okay. There is from Lalita. I think one of the challenges in writing a story is character development. For example, a timid person eventually grows into a brave person, even a hero. What simple tricks can you offer for doing that?
Okay. For me, make sure first your character has very clear wants, that desire or the conscious and the unconscious. Once that's very clear, the desire, you already have the timid, for example, put conflict, a lot of conflict, a lot of obstacles and challenges, but make sure that there are stakes involved. So if the character fails in the conflict or the obstacle, then there are really bad consequences. That will force the character to decide to do something, to change his ways, so for example, a guy who likes a girl, but he's very shy, there's no stakes involved. Now, what if the girl is being pursued by another boy who is a bully, who is manipulative, who is very bad? So now, if I don't tell her how I feel, I will lose her. But it's worse. I will lose her to someone, an evil person, which is worse. And then I overhear the evil person saying to his friends that if they get together, he's going to humiliate her. It's even worse. So now I have to do something. So increase the stakes so that I am forced to decide. So things like that.
Wow, you're already creating a one story, very good story. Then I will make a video.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I guess we are only 2 minutes left. All right. I think the rest of the question, we may respond it separately. Yeah. All right. Everybody really enjoy Ginkai and David for all the things that we never heard before. Thank you for bringing up this new item to us. Yeah. All right. Next one, Yus. Yus, can you put up the, yep. Okay, I like to announce that next week we will have another workshop and how to create the video using AI, right? Creating with AI, and then Joel Bo, which is one of the expert, will give us a tips and knowledge and the skill for us to do. And for those that haven't really register, you can register pendaftaran workshop, ada di bawah situ, atau pakai QR code, please. Next week we will meet in the same time from 10 to 12, jam 10 sampai jam 12. Jadi boleh ajak teman-teman lain yang belum hadir untuk ikut serta dan silakan mendaftar. Oke, sebelum kita tutup hari ini, terima kasih. Thank you so much, Ginkai and David. This really make our Saturday, make our day. We want to do taking a picture. Tolong dibantu dari sekretariat, diberi aba-aba. Mohon bisa membuka videonya semua untuk kita bisa ambil gambar untuk bersama dalam galeri. Silakan
Okay.
dibantu sekretariat.
Okay, I will, Bu Inga. Thank you, Ginkai and David, for the insight for today. What a wonderful workshop that we have. Okay, Bapak Ibu, let's open the camera. Okay, students, also let's open the camera and take pictures. You ready? We have about 252 right now. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next page. Ready? Okay, thank you. Senyumnya 1, 2, 3. Okay, another page. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, sekali lagi. 1, 2, 3. Another page. Okay, thank you so much everyone. Saya kembalikan ke Bu Inga.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Bu Debi. Tolong sekretariat capture semua questionnya ya, yang ada yang belum dijawab, tolong bantu di-capturekan supaya nanti kita bisa jawab offline di dalam WhatsApp group. Terima kasih. Sebelum kita tutup session hari ini, saya ingin meminta Bu Gemaria untuk tutup dalam doa. Bu Gemaria, apakah sudah ada? Halo?
Oh ya, sorry tadi tutup.
Masih
Ya,
mute, masih.
oke.
Ya,
Ya.
thank you.
Mari kita berdoa. Bapa di surga, Tuhan yang Maha Pemurah, terima kasih jika workshop hari ini bisa berjalan dengan baik. Semuanya adalah karena anugerah-Mu ya Bapa. Semoga workshop ini bisa mempersiapkan para peserta untuk bisa membuat video yang inspiratif, video yang menggugah tentang kebangkitan maupun ketangguhan, ataupun bisa membuat suatu pembaharuan hidup bagi setiap orang lain ya Bapak. Karena mereka saat ini sudah dibekali tentang seni storytelling untuk menjadi konten kreator yang baik. kami mau menyerahkan segala persiapan acara ini ke dalam tangan pengasihan-Mu. Tuhan, kami juga berdoa agar setiap orang yang terlibat di dalam acara ini bisa melakukan yang terbaik sehingga bisa menghasilkan anak-anak muda yang kelak bisa menjadi content creator, bisa menjadi agen-agen. Kami juga berdoa ya Tuhan saat ini untuk para narasumber, untuk Ginkai dan David Chan ya Tuhan. Biarlah mereka bisa terus memberi hikmat, bisa terus membuat karya yang bisa menghasilkan hal-hal yang inspiratif bagi dunia ini. Kami serahkan juga panitia yang terlibat di dalamnya. Biarlah kami semua dengan tangan pemeliharaan Tuhan bisa sehati mempersembahkan yang terbaik hanya untuk kemuliaan bagi nama Tuhan. Dan kalau sebentar kami berpisah satu dengan yang lain untuk melanjutkan aktivitas kami masing-masing, biarlah tangan Tuhan yang menyertai kami. Di dalam nama Tuhan kami Yesus Kristus, kami berdoa dan mengucap syukur. Amin.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Bung Maria. Again, thank you so much, Ginkai and David, for all the inspiration, all the new things that we learned today. That's really very valuable. And we, on behalf of the MPK, the Indonesian Christian Education Council, we say thank you, terima kasih banyak. Alright, terima kasih Bapak Ibu untuk kehadirannya. Semoga hari ini apa yang dipersembahkan dapat berguna untuk persiapan kita berhackathon. Sampai jumpa minggu depan.
Ya, selamat siang semuanya.
Selamat
Thank
siang semua.
you.